staff planner. Been here about 11 years.
Okay.
I do what we call current planning, which is development review and working with projects that are getting planned and built. I do long-range planning, which includes working on land use planning and special studies and historic preservation, and I'm also the neighborhood liaison for the city, so I'm a go-between or connection point between all of our neighborhoods, our 25 or 30 neighborhood associations, and all parts of the city government. Well, I think that I've always been had a priority or an interest in communities and how they function, how they're healthy places for people, both mentally, physically, spiritually. And I think planning is the field where a lot of that stuff happens. I think that planning is a very formative part of city growth and has a lot of impact on the enjoyment and satisfaction of citizens who live in a town, and therefore how stable and healthy the town is. Well, I think the most difficult thing about being a planner, staff planner, is you put a lot of effort into it, you put a lot of conviction, belief, some would say emotion into it, and in the end, you don't have any control over what decision gets made. One thing I've learned a lot about here is how to deal with financial incentives. I administer the tax abatement program, so understanding how projects are financed and how the public sector gets involved in that financing or what you can do to incentivize certain things was something I learned here. Also, learning how to, when I was in the private sector as a landscape architect, I did a lot of design, and I had people working for me who did a lot of design, but in the public sector, I've learned more about how you try to administer or regulate design through zoning ordinances, form-based codes, things like that. I guess one thing that I've learned both in the private sector and here is that the values and culture of the organization you work for have a lot to do with how happy you are in it. And I've worked for lots of different kinds of organizations. I've noticed that, particularly in the private sector, but also in the public sector, the values come from the top down. So what the people believe in who are running the show has a lot to do with what the staff. When that flood of 2010 came along, and we also, as a result of it, had a major water main break, we shut the water plant down. And so everybody in the city government was mobilized to help get the word out, help people know what to do, distribute water, route traffic, just all different kinds of things that are outside of our normal activities. But we were all part of an organization that had to be the number one priority. And so, for example, I was the guy who, when we were trying to get the word out about where to go get water, and that changed from time to time, I was the person that informed all the neighborhood associations, so they could turn go out and inform all their neighbors that they could go to the Target parking lot or this place or that place. They could get free water. This is how much they could get, and so I felt like I had a role to play in helping the city get through that tough time. I think that one of the disappointing things about the whole new mall discussion, people who are sincerely interested in efficient growth, smart growth, walkability, things that are happening all over the country, they decide to spend all their energy fighting against the new mall, when actually the new mall gave them, the city, the opportunity to transform the old mall into a mixed-use walkable center, because it would have gone dark. And they never fought for that. And so now, since the economy changed and the new mall never got built, now we've got our old mall, and my personal opinion is we finally have a 70s mall again. There's nothing special about it. It's really good for the community to have that much more retail up there, and I know there are a lot of people who are going to be shopping in Ames now more often than they used to. Ames is focusing on its power production and its waste. since Ames is a city that owns its own power plant, and Iowa State produces its own power, there's tremendous opportunities there to do all that in a more sustainable way. And since we have a unique waste recycling system, you know, we do a lot of recycling, but we also turn waste into energy. And so that's a focus to make sure that's not outdated the way we do that we get the most efficiency out of it as possible. I think there's going to be an increased demand for planning. It's very regional, and it's very goes kind of in phases, periods, and things. So, you know, typically though, there are more opportunities and more sort of cutting edge or innovative planning going on in metropolitan centers and on the coasts. And so that's, if that's what stimulates you, you know, don't be afraid to go somewhere. You know, but if lifestyle is important or quality of life in Ames, Iowa is fantastic. And so those kinds of things are important too. But I guess the other thing is that try to get a lot of different kinds of experiences. There are some parts of planning where it's kind of easy to get locked in. You know, GIS is one of those things that's every school has to teach it and everybody's got to get it and everything. But it used to be that planning departments are looking for a GIS specialist. Well, that's like asking for a typewriter specialist, you know, back in the day. GIS is just a tool, and you can get locked into being the map guy, you know, and it's much more robust than that if you are a planner who uses GIS to accomplish certain things. So getting a broader background keeps you from getting pigeonholed into a certain field, a certain part of it.